Hello, ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated and all sister friends, far and wide. I am honored to have the opportunity to celebrate and appreciate all girls in this All Girls Rock event today. I am excited to share a little bit of hard-earned wisdom with a group of young women who I am sure have great and infinite capacity to heed the word and heal the world. In these moments of disruption, discontinuity, discomfort, and dis-ease, our tendency as women is to give support, encouragement, nurturance, to invest time, effort, and love in our families and in our communities and in the world at large. We learn to do this as little girls, and we continue to do it as women. Surely we know that we are a critical part of the love and justice and caring work that keep the world from spinning off of its axis. I mean, from Harriet Tubman to Michelle Obama, we came to slay. We are notorious for getting out there and getting busy when times get tough. Historically, we have stood behind good men, alongside good men, and more than people realize, we have stood on the front lines and pulled up good men. We are reminded often of our resilience, our strength, and our power as wise women, as young women, as becoming women. But sometimes in the midst of all this busyness, we tend to forget. We forget that all that we are able to give to this world relies first and foremost and fundamentally on the love we are able to give to ourselves. It is our sense of self-worth and self-love that strengthens us, that fortifies us, that replenishes us for the justice and healing and caring we must do out there in our fractured, disconnected, and sometimes downright mean world. There will always be plenty of work to do. We should know that because I think we have a tendency to keep putting off our practices of self-love because we're so busy giving to others. And we're waiting. As soon as this work is over, as soon as we get this done, then we'll come back here and take care of ourselves. Well, you should know there will always be plenty of work to do. It won't ever be over because transformation and healing and new possibility come within the throes of great struggle. Not at the end of it, in the throes of it. So what I want to impress upon you all today is that whatever peace and joy and love we are able to experience in this world will begin with our own practices of self-love. And I want to make sure to make that distinction between self-care and self-love. In self-care, we're going to get a pedicure and we're going to get our hair done and maybe we're going to have a glass of wine with our girls. And that is all important. But I think even up under that, there is something more foundational when we talk about practices of self-love. Because it is that self-love work that nourishes us and replenishes us for the harder work that we have to do in the world. And if I haven't realized anything in my 50 plus years on this earth, what I know is that as women, we don't teach each other self-love. We don't teach our daughters self-love. Ironically, what we tend to pass between us from grandmother to mother to daughter is the responsibility for taking care of everyone but ourselves. And we live in a world that where that is what we're taught to do. And so any time we take to actually tune in to self-love and to tune into practices of self-love is radical. It's radical because there are so many forces in the world trying to keep us from doing it. So for us to decide to do it is to be radical. So what I want to share with you is what I'm trying to pass on to my own 12-year-old daughter. I want you to know, as I want her to know, that every morning before she gets out there and gets busy in the world, I want her to always take some time to do her own work. 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever works for you. But these 4 practices, radical practices of self-love, all they take is time, a little bit of time and effort. First, I'm teaching her to affirm herself, affirm who you are and who you want to be. I am kind, I am clear, I am beautiful, I am love. Take some time to be grateful. Grateful not just for what you have or who's in your life, but grateful for who you are and who you are becoming. I know just before COVID-19 hit, I was running around like a crazy woman, trying to get all these things done, taking my children here, there, and everywhere, driving back and forth to Oxford, taking care of students there on campus. And every day I was pushing aside the little bit of time that I usually set aside for myself. And I could tell I was getting to burnout. And so now that we're in this moment of grand pause, I tried to first pray every morning for all those people who are in the throes of this sickness or in the throes of grief because of this illness in the way it's taken life, particularly in our communities. But after I say that prayer, I say a prayer of gratitude. Gratitude for this pause because it has given me an opportunity to slow down and replenish myself. The next practice I think is forgiveness. As women, I think we are often able to forgive other people before we even forgive our own selves. And I think a lot of times we really struggle with forgiving ourselves. And I think that comes from, again, the fact that we are taught growing up that the work that we do is to care for everyone. And when we can't do that well, sometimes because we've run out of energy or out of focus or whatever is going on with us, we carry that with us. So we don't tend to give our space to forgive ourselves. So, I'm teaching Amina to say, look, forgive yourself in whatever ways you fell short today. Forgive yourself and vow to yourself to do better next time. And finally, I think the most important thing I think we can walk out into the world with to do the work we must do is intention. We must be intentional about what it is we want to get from the world and give to the world. And I think whatever that is, we have to first be willing to give it to ourselves. And we have to do that intentionally. And so if it is love that we want to spread in the world, then it is love we first have to give to ourselves. If it's connection we want in the world, then we have first take time to get connected to our own selves, to our own thoughts. That conversation that we can have with ourselves is perhaps the most important conversation we'll ever have in this world. So I'm just encouraging you to take this time, wherever you can find the time in your morning to fortify and replenish your capacity for self-love and thus your capacity for spreading more love and justice and healing in the world. Do it. And so I'm just going to leave you with a little spoken word piece that reminds us of how tough it is to be who we are in this world, but how much solace and joy and peace we can find in this conversation with our own selves. Being a woman in this difficult world is like sailing against gale force winds in a teeny tiny tugboat on the Atlantic, dancing merengue in 6-inch ruby red heels on creaky old floors, singing in silence, gonna lay down my burden, lay down my burdens, running up the down staircase on crutches, jumping over the moon and bumping into the cow, climbing Diamondback or Rushmore or Kilimanjaro and barely there, bare feet, swearing in church not apart from your praise, loving someone or something that doesn't quite love you yet or maybe never, beating back mummified monolithic myths with a toothpick, working unacknowledged 48 hours a day, biting your tongue for the sake of peace or sanity, or just because you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, fighting for justice on behalf of everyone but yourself, coming face to face with your own inconceivable invisibility and inability to do it all. And yet, despite all of this, as women in this difficult world, we are always sailing, dancing, singing, running, jumping, climbing, swearing, loving, beating back, doing work, biting bloody tongues, fighting, learning to be who we be, disrupting, interrogating, undoing, remaking the world toward more love, more justice, more healing. Thank you.